or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Stumbling down the road with Bridgette Lynn Dolgoff as she carries stones, digs holes, and wheels her shovels on her way. This road is the real path. It is never easy and never clear, but always entertaining. This journey has not been a seated event, as Bridgette walks, runs, stumbles, carries, digs, drags, laughs, fights, sings, prays, dances, kicks, screams, and oftentimes falls.
Hey everybody, this is Carrying Stones and Digging Holes by Bridgette Lynn Dolgoff, and today I have an amazing guest, and I'm hoping that I can get that guest on. Let's see here. Anyway, I was having a little bit of difficulty getting on to the show. And anyway, it seems like I'm not being able to get Jordan onto the show. So, all right. So let's talk about Jordan Maxwell. So I'm supposed to have Jordan Maxwell today as a guest. And I'm not being able to get him onto the show. So hold on 1 minute. And I've been following Jordan Maxwell for years and years and years. He's brilliant, and he has a really good sense of what's going on. And before other people, he might have been like the first, let's say, educated by education truther on YouTube back in 2007, 2008, when I first started watching YouTube. People were videotaping a lot of his lectures and videotaping a lot of his lectures and then putting them on, YouTube. So that's kind of like how I came along to being able to, let's see if we can add him. Okay, so we're calling Jordan, and hold on, let me see what I have here. Anyway, sometimes, this kind of stuff happens where you are having trouble, getting the guest on. And hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can go onto another thing here and see if I can call him on his phone. So anyway, we have him on the phone. Hey Jordan, it's Bridgette. I can't seem to get you up onto the studio by your Skype. It says that you're not available. All right, hold on. Yeah. Yep. And it just says that you're not on, you're not signed in. Let me just do another search here. Hold on. It happens.
I can call you. What is your call number?
Yeah, you can call my Skype number, which is BRIDGNIT. B as in boy, R as in Ralph, I as in idol, D as in dog, G as in golf, N as in Nancy, E as in escape, I as in idol. Okay.
I'll get that much. That's all I need. Because try me again.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you what. Hold on. Maybe there's some problem here. Let me reboot the computer. Call me. Hold on. I'll do it right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go off the phone, and then I'm going to reconnect with you on Skype. I'll just give you a couple minutes. How's that sound?
Yeah, give me a couple minutes.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. All right. There we go. All right. So it happens. I was having some trouble with Skype, and so I spent an extra amount of time this morning trying to clean it up. And I did not post anywhere that I was having Jordan Maxwell on because I didn't want to be like super hijacked and super attacked. So anyway, we'll give him a couple minutes, and then I will try to call him to get him back on. But I have to tell you that Jordan Maxwell is, one of those people who I consider a living hero. He helped me to, having heard a lot of the information that he was giving to people about the legal system, especially the Admiralty law and what all the languaging meant, and, helped me when I needed to move into common law. When I was also under attack, and the state and government and decided to come after my private practice, along with 250 other people in the state. There's just not, for a lot of the work that I do, there's just no licensing for it. And it's not that I'm doing anything wrong. Been doing, arts that have been around for a super long time, have been well trained and educated in holistic medicine. But there was a period in Nevada where they were trying to pass a law, the complementary medicine bill, that would have eliminated even supplements, and you would have had to hire, for example, a doctor to work at your store for $200,000 a year to write prescriptions for supplements. And so they came after all practitioners, put us out of business long before the bill was even, going into the legislative session. So I spent, 5 years under serious threat and attack at every turn. And I had to kind of learn how to work my own law. And Jordan Maxwell was a catalyst for me being able to start understanding the languaging that I was reading in law. Okay, let's see if we can get him on. And let's see. Oop, nope, unavailable. Okay, so let's just, keep working it here until we have to. Let me look this up. I just want to make sure. Let me just make sure I've got this dialed in. And that's pretty interesting because it's not even, I think that it's not even showing that he has a, that's very interesting. All right. Maybe he'll be able to get on. I suspect he's probably been hacked. So I may have to call him again, or I may have to do the show solo. Let's see, because it doesn't seem like he's being able to get on. It looks like he's being blocked in some way, shape, or form. Okay, hold on. Let me call him back. Well, let me just see if I can. Let's see. Let me just see what we have here on the Skype. Let's see here. I don't know if I can include that. It didn't want me up on Studio A either. So, anyway, let me see if I can get it up and going. So sorry, everybody. I really thought about, having Jordan on all day or all last night, and ooh, something made a noise. All right. It keeps saying Jordan is unavailable, and we made sure, yeah, I know. All right, let me call him back and see. Because I've had, people on my show before where their Skype was working fine, and then the morning, of the show, their Skype went totally bonkers, and then they were trying to get a new Skype up and going, while I was on the show. So let me call him again. And
hey, Bridget.
Yeah.
This is Nighthawk.
Hi, Nighthawk.
I'm watching what you're doing, and the problem you got here is you have yourself set to unavailable, and he has himself set to unavailable, so none of the calls are going to go through. It's not Men in Black or anything. I just ran the whole gamut.
Well,
In
mine
fact,
says active.
I couldn't even call you. I had to force myself into the call from the studio, because when I tried to call you, it just said unavailable.
Right, but mine says active. Has a green light and says active.
Yeah, okay, well, I mean, it's just a Skype issue, but
right. So
I've known Jordan a long time. He's not the most technically proficient person in the world,
right?
But he's got to go to his status and fix it to available.
Okay.
Even if you set it to not available and then go back to available, it'll send a new trigger to the servers.
Okay. All right. Hold on one second. Let me give him a call.
And I'll stick around. Hopefully, we can get you straightened out.
Okay. Awesome. Let me see. Let me call him again. Okay. Hey, okay, so we think we might know what the problem is. Did you get onto your Skype? Okay. I did 2 weeks ago. So the thing is one of the things that Nighthawk is saying is that on your Skype, it's showing that you're unavailable. So it won't call through to your Skype to try to get you on because it considers you unavailable. So if you go on your Skype and you go up to the top where your name is on the left-hand side and you click on your photo, it'll give you some options of being you want to be in the active. Yep, so you have your green light on.
Yeah, you need to set your status to active.
Yes.
Unavailable is basically kind of like putting do not disturb on your hotel room door.
Okay, he says that he's active. It's just showing you not active on my my bar. So, yeah, it's like a Skype thing, I'm sure.
Hey, Bridget, do me a favor. PM me his phone number. I'll just put him in here via his telephone.
Okay, Jordan. Well, I have him on the telephone. Jordan wanted to use, I'm talking to the network. Jordan didn't want to use his telephone. He wanted to use his Skype.
Oh, okay.
So let me send you a message. Okay, I'm going to send you a message real quick here. I'm going to send you a thumbs up on your Skype page. Do you see the thumbs up? Yeah. All right. So something's happened. Okay, hold on a second. Let me go in here. Because I'm pretty sure it says Jordan Maxwell. Let me just make sure I have the correct. And then it says basically your username on here is it says, so your username it's saying is Live Jordan Maxwell Show. And that's your Skype name. Okay. So I have you here as a contact. Let me see if I can do this in another way.
There's like 30 Jordan Maxwells, and he's been hacked so many times. Are we sure we got the right Jordan Maxwell? Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can go back in here again and straighten it out. Okay, hold on. Let me see. And so I'm typing in another search, and it won't give me anything on the search. So I've typed in Jordan Maxwell Show, and it won't give me anything on the Skype search at all. It won't give me anything here at all. That's crazy. Yeah, you can call me on my phone number from Skype if you want. Can you call from Skype on phone number?
Hold on. I just got another Nighthawk.
Yeah. That's our... Accept it, yeah. Okay. Yeah, my Skype is not allowing me to see you or work with your Skype or look up any other Skype. Did you... Well, I know this stuff happens. Okay, you got him, Nighthawk.
Okay.
There you go. I found him. You had that dude. Actually, what you had was the contact of that dude that hacked him years ago. You got him now.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Okay.
Is he on? Okay. All right, I've got you. Bye. Let's see. All right, Jordan. Nighthawk got you on to the show.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you all right.
Okay. That's the main thing.
Yeah, you might want to just turn your volume up just a little bit more, I think, but you're pretty good.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to try it. Let me go back in here and make sure. Okay, anyway, we're good to go. All right, so what I was saying about Jordan Maxwell is that, I've been following him a super long time, and he probably was one of the people that was first telling the truth on YouTube years ago. Back then, people were videoing his lectures and putting them up on YouTube. Jordan has always given a lot for free. He's always wanted people to understand what the truth is. And I highly respect him. He's one of my living heroes. And so I really wanted to have on the show. I've been emailing him for 2 years until he finally said yes, he would come on the show. And like I was saying before we got him on, that, when I had to move into common law and I had to start doing my own legal paperwork because the state and the government were taking me down, because of a lot of the languaging that was in his videos, it helped me to be able to understand the language I was using and the languages I needed to use in order to, create my paperwork and fight back. So my life has kind of been a parallel experience to Jordan. I've had lots of trouble with, the unseen, if you will, the powers that be, taking me down, trying to starve me out. And I feel, because of my own experience, and I feel that Jordan out of, pretty much anyone online really understands and knows what's really going on. And I know that sometimes people, put him into the doom and gloom category, but truth is what it is. And sometimes we have to really pay attention to what that truth is. I've had extraterrestrial experience. I've had a lot of experience, the same experiences as Jordan's had, falling down, trying to get yourself back up, and trying to keep doing your work, trying to keep moving forward. So I highly respect Jordan, and that he keeps on going. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He keeps going and going and going, no matter what happens, and delivering the truth and understanding to the populace. So, hey, Jordan, I'm excited to have you on.
Thank you, dear. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, perfect right now. You're perfect.
Okay.
And thank you, Nighthawk, for saving the show.
I don't know what happened, but that's technology for you.
Well, it seems like technology is getting worse. It's not getting better.
Like Gore Vidal said, welcome to the United States of incompetency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines of yours, I've used it on shows in the past, is, "It's a club and you ain't in it."
Yeah, I know. It's clever.
Yeah. So we're going to talk to Jordan. If people want to go back through his past history, we're going to let Jordan talk about whatever he wants to talk about, in the here and now. And if you want to go back and, there's thousands and thousands of videos, trafficked all over the internet. So if you aren't familiar with Jordan Maxwell, there's tons and tons and tons of video and audio information about his work and his trying to educate people and the populace. But I want to talk to Jordan about what Jordan wants to talk about.
Well, thank you. I would say that the only thing I do that I consider to be of some value, I am always saying on every show, I try always to say I am not the world's foremost authority on anything. At least I'm smart enough to know how much I don't know. But what I do bring to the table, I feel that is of value, is the fact that I have met and been blessed, so to speak, to meet so many people in my life that were really off the wall, strange people who knew things that nobody else has ever heard before. And they started me down a path many, many years ago, back in 1959, some 60 years ago. And they started me on my path to researching and studying the dark side of our life, all the hidden knowledge and hidden facts of life that nobody has ever been told. And that's what I have been fascinated with, how much people just do not know. And the only reason I know is because I have been in the company of the experts. Something has allowed me to meet extraordinary people. So this is why I say I am not an authority, but I am an ordinary man pursuing extraordinary knowledge. I have met many people that you have no idea that I would ever even know at a very high level in this world that have told me things in private that would, turn your hair white if I told you. And I have seen with my own eyes things that people have done, very famous people who you would know and hear, that I know them personally, and things that they've told me in personal conversations. And so I try to do the best I can without holding them up to derision. It's very difficult to tell you many of the things that I have been told because I would never tell you some of the most profound things that powerful people in this world have told me, because it would affect them. It would hurt them. And I have said before that would make some great radio. That would make sensational radio show, to tell you all the dark secrets of the powerful people in this world and what they've said in private. and what they know and what they're telling me. But if I did that, I wouldn't probably see the sun come up tomorrow morning. I would be finished. And so while it would make a great radio show to tell you all the secrets of the powerful people in the world, I would be in trouble. And everybody in the audience would find it to be very juicy show, very interesting. But after a week, you have forgotten it. And I would have caused a lot of trouble for a lot of powerful people. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm wise enough to know that in America and in this world, if you cause trouble for the wrong people, you are yourself are in trouble. By naming names and talking about things you heard in private and you saw in private with your own eyes as an eyewitness to, you can get in some serious trouble. And at 80 years old, I don't feel like that kind of serious trouble. I don't care about that kind of trouble. So I would prefer to remain quiet and shut my mouth and just know and take to the grave with me. I'm 80 years old. I will take to the grave with me many things I could never tell the people of this world that I've heard from very, very powerful people. And things that you would never believe that I was in the company of. People you would never believe I was in the company of. But I do the best I can with trying to leak some of the ideas out, generally speaking, without pointing fingers at people in particular. And the best thing I could do right now to get your attention is just to tell you what the general understanding that I have of the life that we live. And that is based on my experiences of some 60 years of talking to people. I would say nothing in this world, and I'm emphasizing the word nothing. Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. We don't have a police department that does what you think they do. No, they don't. We don't have banks. Banks don't do what you think they do. Insurance companies are not what you think they are. Government is not what you think it is. When you go to school, the very word school is not what you think it means. Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. And until somebody has awakened you to what the words and the terms and the situation is on the earth and how we live from one day to the next, and what the words and the terms mean and how the whole system works, you're never going to figure out what you can and cannot do in this world. And so the smart thing to do is to educate yourself. Do the homework. And I've used this as an example. If you happen by chance to own a 2-story building, and if you're going to put a lot of weight on the second floor, like automobiles or printing presses or anything like that, before you do that, you should go downstairs and get a ladder and call the building inspector and go downstairs, get a ladder and go up and remove the ceiling tiles from downstairs and look at the foundation of that second floor and see if that second floor is going to hold that kind of weight. Before you go piling tons of weight on that floor, make sure the floor is going to hold that kind of weight. So what are you doing? You're standing under the foundation you're going to build on. And that's where we get the idea of understanding. You do not understand unless you have done your homework and go down below. Don't just listen to what the government is saying or what the church is saying or what the military is saying. Go down below and just assume that's a lie. It's a premeditated, well-planned propaganda lie to deceive you. And unfortunately, propaganda does not deceive you. It just helps you to deceive yourself because you bought into it. You didn't do your homework. You didn't bother to find out who the person was that was talking, what is their background, where are they getting their money, who's financing them, and how does this world work. Extraordinary stuff, I would suggest. And once you begin to see what I'm talking about, it becomes overwhelming and obvious that the world you live in is being run behind the scenes, and it's all doing just fine. Everybody is doing just fine. The rich are getting richer, the poor will get poorer, and you will not ever in this lifetime experience freedom, period. You have to understand that when the Constitution of the United States was being written up, it talked about we the people. But we the people does not mean you. That does not include you as a U.S. citizen. You are not part lawfully of what is called we the people. We the people is a special club, and you ain't in it. And so you need to understand that. Talk to a lawyer. Talk to federal attorneys. They will explain to you so many things that you've never heard before. And that's why if you're going into court, you have to hire an attorney. Why? Because he is your mouthpiece. Let him do the talking. Why? Because he's gone to university. He's passed the test, and that's why he can talk in the court and you can't, because he knows what to say and what not to say. You don't. And you can go to prison for what you say in a courtroom. So just understand that the whole world does not work the way you think it does. And that's why the human family is in so much trouble today, because we just don't understand the words, the terms, or the system. That's what I try and do. Wake people up to understand the world is far different than what you think it is. That's who I am, and that's what I do. I do the best I can with it because I don't have anything. I don't own anything. That's who I am.
So, no, I totally agree on all those kinds of levels. I've had some pretty intense conversations with people, not really behind closed doors, but, you know, more of like the unseen myself. And it's hard to, I mean, you have to stick kind of with the basics because, I mean, obviously you don't want to like throw yourself under a bus, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But one of the things I wanted to kind of talk to you about was that, and this was actually a YouTube video. So, you know, if you could talk about it or not talk about it, but you kind of did an interview, which a lot of people haven't seen. I caught it a few years ago, but it was with a woman whose family was, you know, being quieted by, you know, reptilians. And it was an experience that she had, I think, when she was trying to step out and figure out what had happened to her father.
Yep. Her name was Nancy.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I suppose so. Nancy is a dear, sweet friend. She was a dear, sweet girl. She lived up in Northern California now. And I met her in Los Angeles many years ago. And when I met her, I knew she was very, very distinctly different. And she was very, very psychic and very well in understanding the spirit world and terms and words. And that's why we got along so well. And she introduced me to a lot of ideas. But she was telling me one time, because we used to talk about the extraterrestrial world. And she used to talk about the alien presence on the earth that were reptilians. She had many experiences with reptilians. And if you want to hear it, I would suggest you just go on the web and type in Jordan Maxwell and Nancy, Nancy, Jordan Maxwell and Nancy, reptilian. It's very easy to find, and she will sit there and explain the whole thing to you on the radio. It's called Jordan Maxwell and Nancy with reptilian. And rather than me going through it all right now, just that's something for you to listen to later. But there are, but the bottom line on the whole story is that there are reptilian presence. There is a reptilian presence on the earth. I don't know where they've come from, and she doesn't know. We've been told that it's reptilian. There's a place in the universe that we now have been told that this is where the reptilians come from. I don't know. I was never there. I don't know. But I do know they're here. And, of course, David Icke is today talking about the reptilian. And the reason why is because I brought David Icke over to America to start with many years ago, before anyone had ever heard of him. I heard of him, and I was impressed with his bravery to go out and talk about things that nobody else has ever talked about. So I contacted him and brought him to America and financed him to do his books and travel around and give lectures, etc., and speak in different countries and go on the radio. So I got him started talking about these subjects many, many years ago, and today he's very famous around the world for doing that. And so I talked with him about the reptilians and what Nancy had told me about them. And I think it's better to hear her explain it in her own words. And keep in mind when you're listening to that, as Jordan Maxwell and Nancy was reptilian. But keep in mind, I was very young when I was doing that. I've been doing radio for many years. And so I was filled with all kinds of anxieties when I was interviewing her, and so my voice will sound a lot younger. And just keep that in mind. It's just many years ago I was talking to her on radio, and she told the story about her personal life and her father, and he was in the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force. And he was in charge, he had been put in charge in the Air Force of Project Retrievables. Anytime a UFO came into the Earth's presence and either landed or crashed or had something to do with the Earth, with as extraterrestrials, her father was in charge of the United States Air Force Project Retrievable, simply meaning anytime anything fell on this earth or landed on this earth that was not from here, then the United States military was in charge of that. No matter what country the UFO came down in, doesn't matter what country, the United States Air Force was in charge of investigating any and all UFO, period. End of sentence. And he was the man who was in charge of it. So he obviously got to see a lot of things and told the mother, told his wife, and ultimately Nancy, being his daughter, she found out about the things that he was doing and seeing and knowing about. And that's why we ended up talking a lot about the reptilian. So anyway, I think it would be better if we just let everyone go on the web to Jordan, Maxwell, Nancy, and Reptilians and listen to it themselves.
Sounds good. My in this world, I really appreciated, you doing radio and you teaching and giving a kind of a different understanding, because my understandings are similar to your understandings. And sometimes, you're out there and a lot of people don't, besides the people that you've gotten information from, I mean, it seems like the globe of people, they're still stuck in a lot of propaganda. I really feel like a lot of this new age kind of galactic stuff where people think that they're, going to save them is probably some kind of sinister stuff, because they've created a whole system of people who need to be saved.
Yeah. And we do need to be saved.
Right.
From our own stupidity, if nothing else.
Right. But I mean, do you really believe, because I don't believe this at all. I feel like the galactic stuff and the new age stuff, my perception is because I've had experiences with reptilians. And I, back in the day when I was 23, I studied with a Lakota Sioux medicine woman who had originally been kidnapped by NASA off of her reservation, and eventually she, could bypass them and listen to their thoughts and realize like they had kidnapped her. And then she had somehow escaped them. And then she was doing healing work on people because she was healing their scientists, from a lot of the damage that they were exposed to.
Yeah. And I knew Chief Chasing Horse, one of the chiefs of the Lakota tribe. We used to talk quite often about all kinds of strange things that the Native Americans knew that we were not even beginning to be aware of, that they have always known.
They've always known.
Yeah.
They've always known. A lot of my teachers tell me things and it does not compute to what the regular population is doing. And I always refer back to them because they have 400,000 years, some of them, of oral history.
Yep. And we don't have any history. We don't even know. I think it was Harry Truman, the 33rd president of the United States. Harry Truman was asked, what is the latest news? One time he was asked by a reporter, what's the latest news out of Washington, D.C., Mr. President? And he said, the latest news is all the facts of life that you don't know. That's the latest news that you're never going to know. I'm not about to tell you. The things that you don't know, that's the latest news. You're going to find out one day what's been going on that you've never been told. So that's it. Just sit around and wait, and one day you'll find out what all the news was really all about. So the latest news is just the stuff you don't know about. So that's it.
Well, anyway, so hold on. I have a little bit of a cough. So anyway, okay. I realize, just like you realize, like most people have zero idea what's going on, especially in the United States. They have no idea what's going on and who's running this world.
Yeah, you're
like
right.
You said, they're probably never going to know who it is. And like I've had experiences with, snake-like type reptoids. I actually had, I'm going to say something here that, I can say, but my second non-biological grandfather that married my grandmother, who was a legitimate prophet, and she was also an exorcist, and the beings that she mostly exorcised out of people were reptoids.
Mm-hmm.
And then studying with the Lakota Sioux medicine woman, I came to find out that most of the people who are channeling things are channeling reptoids, are connecting on to their bodies and giving them this, astounding information, which they're leading people completely astray as well. My teacher told me that the more brilliant the being, the more negative it is, and the more of a liar it is, because it has to be big and shimmery. My native teachers have always told me that, and to stay away from the big and shimmery because they're going to tell you things that aren't true. But my second grandfather, when he was dying, the last 3 weeks of his death, my grandmother called me and said that she was hysterical. And she said that she woke up and that my grandfather was a full body snake, a full scale human snake. And so my grandmother's side of our bloodline, we come from a really old bloodline of healers and medicine people. And we feel like he had infiltrated into our family, you know what I mean, to try to break up that bloodline and to cause chaos and crisis. But she, called me and told me about it. And, I totally believe her without a shadow of a doubt that she woke up and he was a giant, snake being in the bed because he was dying, and pretty sure that his form wasn't holding.
Right. And, in relation to that, my mother, when I was growing up as a little kid, my mom used to tell me all the time, she kept drilling it into me. Always remember, she would say, that you are from the Carroll family. And she would spell it, Carroll. the Carroll family. That's my ancestors in Washington D.C. area, the Carroll family, and we were Catholic, and so my mother used to tell me that all the time, and of course, as a kid, that meant nothing to me. So what? And so as I realizing that the whole world is not what you think it is, it wasn't until about the year 1999 that I happened to find a book called Rulers of Evil by Tupper Saucy. Rulers of Evil by Tupper Saucy. And what this author had done is he broke down how the United States actually was founded and who financed it and what they were really doing, not what you thought they were doing, but what they were actually setting up in North America is something that you've never heard of before. And people do not know what was being done back in 1770s in North America. And so the book was called Rulers of Evil. But in that, he talked about the founding of the United States with George Washington and the founding fathers, so to speak. And he said the one man that helped George Washington found the Republic of the United States of America was a very extremely wealthy man in the 13 colonies, was without a doubt the single wealthiest man in all of the 13 colonies. He was a Jesuit priest, but also a businessman, and he was worth millions. Even then, at the time of George Washington, he financed the whole entire American Revolution for his friend, George Washington. And he owned land in what we call Maryland and in that general area, Virginia, Maryland, and all that. And he was a very, very powerful Jesuit banker. But he was very close to George Washington, and they were very close friends. So he financed Washington and his army for the revolution. And his name was Carroll, John C. Carroll. And John C. Carroll founded the John C. Carroll University. And today, John C. Carroll University is in Washington, D.C., and he is known to be one of the most important founding fathers of America. Well, that was my mother's family. So I thought that was strange when I heard that. And then a few years later, when National Treasure, the movie came out, National Treasure, I was shocked at that because in the movie, the National Treasure movie, was all about the Carroll family. It starts off with talking about John C. Carroll and who he was and how he financed George Washington for the revolution against the European monarchies. And he was a Jesuit. And I thought to myself, I'm watching the movie, they're talking about my mother's family. My mother used to tell me about the Carroll family. And so I have a pedigree of sorts myself. My mother's family were the Carrolls who financed the revolution. And John C. Carroll was a very wealthy landowner, and he gave as a gift to George Washington, along with all the money that he provided, he also gave a 10-mile stretch of his farm. And it was between Maryland and Virginia and that general area. He called that area that he gave to George Washington, that general area was known as Rome, R-O-M-E, Rome. Why? Because he was from Italy. He was a Jesuit banker. And so he called that area Rome, and he donated 10 miles square part of his farm to George Washington, gave it to him so he could have a government, so the federal government would have a place to operate from. And today, that 10 miles square that John C. Carroll gave to Washington is today referred to as Washington, D.C., period. And so my mother's family gave Washington, D.C., to George Washington and the people of America. But today, Washington, D.C. is now a cesspool where you can go and end up in a hot tub. You go there and rip off the people and steal whatever you can and rip off the world and become very wealthy and come home and live like a king. And the people couldn't care less because they don't know what you're doing. They don't know how government works. They have no idea why we have a police department. And nobody's ever questioned that. And there's a very interesting story behind why do you have police today? Because if you go to a movie, the old West movie, the old Wild West movies, that, John Wayne shows, John Wayne movies, and you will see in those old Western movies, the guys ride into town on their horses and they're carrying guns on their sides, and they can go into the bar with a gun on their side, and if they have a falling out with another guy, they can always settle it like gentlemen, or they can go outside and draw on each other. And they can do that right in front of the sheriff's office because it's perfectly lawful and legal to draw on each other, like the OK Corral. It's perfectly right, justified if that's what you want to do, because you have to understand the way the country was founded. And so I had police, therefore they never had licenses. You don't have to have a license to carry a gun. Just ask one of those guys in the bar if he's got a license to carry his gun. Cowboys don't need a license. They got a 45 on their hip that says that's a license. They can do whatever they want. Why? Because they're free Americans. That's the way it works. But today, we're not free Americans. We're no longer considered under international law to be Americans, only in the fact that we are in North America. And so when you understand today, we're no longer American citizens. We are U.S. citizens. You need to realize that back in the middle of the Civil War, back in the 1860s, we had a civil war which was extremely violent and very bloody. And that's what we're moving toward. It looks like to me, personally, it looks like we're moving toward a civil war in this country again. Right now, it appears to me, it's just my opinion, based on 60 years of study, it looks like we're heading for another civil war. But because one half of this country wants to destroy the United States of America because they are working for our enemies. They are behind the scenes working for our enemies. Our enemies are the international banking elite, which finance the British royalty and the British European royalty, the German, the Swiss, the Swedish, Germanic, Nordic royalty. All the royals, they are all enemies to this country. The royalty is an enemy to America because America was set up to free the people, the free people. And so the royalty have decided that's the one they cannot afford to exist. Yes. Yes, I'm here.
There we go. All right, we'll be back in 4 minutes.
freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hello, all you good-looking people out there in Revolution Radio. This is Mario. I invite you to join me Thursdays at 6 o'clock for This, That, and the Other. It's a show about you, it's a show about me, but ultimately it's a show where we try to have a little bit of fun. We discuss important topics, and we do our best to be apolitical. So I invite you, put on your favorite pair of comfy sweats, your smoking jacket, and grab a beverage of your choice, and join me Thursday evenings at 6 o'clock for This, That, and the Other on Revolution Radio.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
From the astral realms to the physical plane, the halls of power to the walls of home, the multiverse to the innerverse, all will be haunted by the ghost in the machine. I am Steve Zeroloff, the ghost in the machine. Mondays, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Studio B, exclusively here on Revolution.Radio.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hey there, it's the second hour of Carrying Stones and Digging Holes radio show. Oop, got a little feedback. All right, so I forgot at the beginning of the first hour to tell you that we are listener supported and to go to Revelation Radio. All right, feedback is pretty spare. All right, so to go to free, wow, that's, the echo is terrible. I can't hear.
Hello. Dropping out. I hear you, and then you're gone. I hear you, then you're gone. I hear you, then you're gone. It's dropping back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, I can hear you now. Are you hearing me? Okay. We keep dropping in and out. Yep. Yeah, I can now. I'm
Basis to
only hearing about one sentence out of 10.
Bridgette, go. You're all fixed. I had to step out of the room. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm remotely hosting your show, and I have the flu. I have the worst case of the flu ever,
Me
and
too.
I had to step out of the room for other reasons.
Okay.
So you're good to go.
Okay, good. All right. So are you hearing me good now, Jordan?
Yes. You're still there, right? Okay. All right, darling. So talking about the Civil War that America happened. And after the Civil War was over, the United States of America no longer officially was operating in North America. There was no United States of America. The entire idea was shut down officially. And so we were no longer known as the United States of America because we were not united. We just had a terrible war between North and South, between the North and the South Korea, North and South Carolina, North and South Dakota. We just had a terrible, bloody conflict. And so we're not united. We were a lot of things, but united wasn't one of them. So therefore, the politicians realized we're not united. And so we're no longer referred to around the world as the United States of America. And therefore, all of the privileges and all of the wonderful things that came with that republic are gone. Gone, gone. No more laws to protect you and to protect the citizen. No more rights. There are no more rights. You don't have any rights now. The country is finished and it's over. And so, therefore, the politicians in Europe and the bankers who were financing this country and financing industry and the railroads, etc., the financiers decided they had a problem to deal with. We don't any longer actually exist as the United States of America. So what are you going to do about that? Because you still have millions of people who are going to eat every day, and they still want to grow and live and have their work and have jobs and live their life, but they're no longer in the United States of America. So what are you going to do about that? Well, it was decided that the smart thing to do was to collect all the people up in North America and call it a corporation and incorporate it in Delaware as a Delaware corporation and just call it a company then. So now we don't have a republic, we have a corporation. A republic is the basis for our United States of America. But there is no republic because we had a civil war, so now we have to have a company, just a corporation. And good people and bad people can work for the same corporation. And inside a Ford Motor Company, you can have people who like each other and people who don't, people who help each other and people who hate each other. It doesn't matter. It's a company. And just do your job and shut up. And so that's the way we live today. We're no longer United States of America, republic. We are a corporation. And corporations cannot make law. Very important. Corporations cannot make a law. Ford Motor Company today or Exxon cannot come out and publicly say that there's a new law that you must do this, this, or that. So says Exxon or Ford Motor Company. You must do this, this, and that in North America. You would say, what are you talking about? You making a law. You don't have the right to make a law. You're not government. Yeah, but we're telling what you can do and what you can't do. It's a law. Well, finally, we understand corporations cannot make a law. They can only have a policy, which is a law within themselves. So if you go to work for Ford, They can't tell you what the law is because they can't make a law, but they can tell you what their policy is. Their policy is you show up at 7 o'clock and you go home at 3. That's their policy. You take off a half hour for lunch and you get 2 breaks during the day. And so that's their policy. It's not a law, but that's the way they operate. And if you buy something from Sears and you want to take it back and get your money back, you can't do that. Why? Because there's a law that said, no, there isn't. It's only a policy. So that's why today the United States cannot make any laws, but they can provide us with a way to live, and it's called a policy. The corporation has its own policy. And that's why we don't have politicians. We have policymakers. And the policymakers decide what the company can do and what it can't do. And so when the policymakers come up with a new policy, they're doing that every day because that's what they're paid to do, is come up with some new airhead policy. And so when they come up with a policy, maybe you don't want to follow that policy. And if you're carrying a gun, that's not good. You should not be able to carry a gun. Why? Because you might decide you don't want to follow that policy. Are you still there and understanding me? Okay. So if there is a policy that you may not like, you have to have somebody back it up with an arms, with a gun. And so they're called policy makers, need to have their policies backed up by police. Police back up the policy of the politicians. So therefore, in America, the United States of America, under the Republic, cowboys could wear their own guns and they were their own law. You mess with one and you walk out in the street and you're a dead man. Why? Because that's the way the law was written. Every man was a sovereign. Every woman and every child was a sovereign. You got nothing to do with them. You got no control over them. They were Americans and they were free. And so if you want to deal with them, you better have a gun, and don't be surprised that they pull off a gun too. And so now you're going to have to back up what you were saying. Why? Because they are no longer your slaves. They are free people wearing guns, and they can do whatever they want to do because they are free Americans. They have freedom and liberty and justice. And so the world was different back then when we were free. But today we're no longer a free republic. We are just a corporation, and corporations have a policy. And the policy is backed up by the police. It's just an extraordinary story, and that's why there is no longer any freedom, because corporations can only deal, this is a corporate law, corporations are only empowered to deal with other corporations. They cannot deal with you as an individual. So what they had to do when they made this United States into a corporation, they also stated that you, as a human being in this country, as a man or woman or child, you are now no longer a citizen of the United States of America. You are an employee of a foreign corporation, which has nothing to do with the state you're living in. It has to do with a little place called Washington, D.C., and that's where the corporation is headquartered, and you are part of that corporation. So therefore, you are now under the authority of that corporation, and therefore you are a corporation. They made you into a corporation. So now you are a business too. And that's why if I see you coming out of a restaurant at 2 a.m. with some guy, I say to you the next day, I call you and I say, I saw you out with this guy last night. Yeah. He's bad company. You better be aware of that. He's very bad company. And you say, mind your own business. And then I find out you're going to get married. He's going to be your partner. What are we talking about? Business, company, partner. We're talking about finance. We're talking about business, corporations. Nothing more than just banking business. That's why you have to have a license when you get married, because it's a piece of business. It's nothing personal. It's business. So when you're getting married, thank God that's no business. But who I am sleeping with is none of your, that your whole the corporation. It's a business. And therefore, if you're going to go into business with somebody else and marry, it's called a business license. And so you're going to go into business with someone. And incidentally, obviously, if that business does not work out, you're going to bring your house, your car, your everything. It's just business, like the mob says. It's just business. And so that's the way the world works. Today, you are just a business. The corporation called the United States is just a corporation. And you might want to start thinking about finding out who owns this corporation called United States Corporation in Washington, D.C. Who owns it? Who are the stockholders who own the United States of America? The United States Corporation. Are you still there? Okay.
Jordan, can you hear me?
I'm getting a thing on my web.
Oh, okay.
X broadcaster to enable virtual put start split broadcast. We're not doing an video broadcast. So anyway, that's why we have today police. We have police who are backing up the policy, and the policy is if you come across our border from the south or from the north or any other way, if you come across our border into the United States Corporation, you are now illegally within the confines of a corporation, a private company. It's like you're breaking into Ford Motor Company at 2:00 in the morning. You are not supposed to be in that property, but you broke into the factory. And therefore, you can now, the way it works is when you unlawfully break into a corporation and take something from them and steal their money and work and make money, you are liable when they find you and find out what you've done. They can put a lien on you. It's called a mechanic's lien. And so the mechanic's lien simply means if I paint your home and you don't pay me, I can put a lien on your property. And so if you come into this country and you're working and making money and eating, the corporation can put a lien on you. And therefore you are now an alien. We call it alien. No, a lien has been put on you. You are the alien. And so you need to understand how the world actually works. Are you okay? So I'm just giving you an outline, generally speaking, of how the world really works. And why do you have to go to court? That's the one thing Americans are always subservient to, is the court. Why do you have to go to court? Because you on a court. You play tennis on a court. That's why you have to go to court, because it's a game. And the whole idea in a court, though it doesn't seem like a game, it seems like a very serious game, but it is a game. That's why they call it court. And am I still being heard? Okay. Yes, I can. Yeah. You're breaking up bad. So that I'm only hearing a couple of words, then it's gone. Then later on, a couple of words, and it's gone. The whole entire program is a couple of words from you, and then it's dead. And then it comes back at a couple of words. That's all I'm hearing is 2 or 3 words from you.
Can you hear me now?
I don't know. Keep talking. Let's see if I can hear more. No, you just wait. No, I'm not hearing you. Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you now. It very well might be a combination of 2 problems. One, somebody doesn't want me. You. and, yep, and then also it very well might be that Mercury, the planet Mercury, is in retrograde. And when the planet Mercury goes into retrograde, that's an interesting fact of life. When the planet goes backwards in the sky, it's called going retrograde. And Mercury is the god of communication. So we know that for thousands of years, mankind has known that when Mercury goes retrograde, which it does once or twice a year, when it goes retrograde, the week retrograde, everything electrical screws up bad. So that very well might be why we're getting all the problems with the computer and the radio, is because Mercury's in retrograde. I can hear you for the moment. I'm only hearing a couple of words. I'm only hearing about 2 words every 5 seconds.
No, let's see. Hold on a second. Let me see.
Yeah, dead air is continual. It's continual dead air.
Okay, Hawk, can you hear me? Hello? I'm on the network. I don't know if I can get Jordan on. Let's see if we can get... let me see this one. Oh yeah, let me see if I can get him on this way. Okay. Let me see if I can get him calling. Okay, hopefully I'm on. And let's see if I can get Jordan on again. And it's ringing. I hope I'm live. Hello? All right, I'm calling Jordan. I'm calling Jordan, and we're seeing if we can get him back on. And I don't know what's going on. So let me go over to my peanut gallery and see. Cough. Hey, can you hear me? All right. I don't know what's going on. It's so crazy. All right, I'm just trying to figure out if I'm on or not. Yes, I'm on. Okay, this is good news. Okay, let me see if I can get Jordan back on. And hold on 1 second. I need to add. Let's see if we can add Jordan. Probably not going to be able to add Jordan because I don't have him as a... Oh, and it's not even going to allow me to bring him on. Wow, this is getting crazy. Okay, let's see. Damn, this is just such a bummer. Oh well, that's like, what are you going to do? It won't even add. Let's see. Won't even add Jordan. I don't know if Hawk can hear me. Hey Hawk, can you hear me? I think I'm live. Mona says that you can hear me, but I can't get Jordan on. It's not going to let me. It's not even going to let me call him. At least it tried to let me call him. And now it won't let me call him at all. So I'm going to add, and then it won't even let me get Jordan on. All right. So anyway, we were jamming along at high speed. Oh, here we are. Let me hold on a second. Jordan back on here. So let's just hold on 1 second. I wanted to see if I could get Jordan on here. Oh, wait. Cool. Hold on a second. Hello? Hello? Oh, no. Let me go back. Oh, crud. Hold on 1 second.
Is that the United States of America were founded upon are so foreign to the minds of the people today, so foreign that if we were to be flashed back to the United States of America in 1790s, 1780s, you would not believe the difference in life on this earth. You would not believe how you're living today as opposed to what you would decide, what you would design to live like under the original constitutional republic called the United States of America. Today, we are nothing more than a corporation, which is a community. That's why you have a gay community, the Hispanic community, the black community. We have a commune. It's a very big commune, and that gives us the word communism. We are a Marxist-Leninist Soviet communist apparatus. Today, we are the Soviet Union, and this is why we are in the trouble we're in today, because the American people are ignorant, ill-informed, unread, and have no idea in the world how government or banking works. Nobody understands how it works, except the people who are raping us and destroying our country. We call them the government. They're not the government. They are nothing more than criminals who have taken over our republic, destroyed our peace and our freedoms and our liberties and our justice and our country, and they destroyed our basis for economics, our factories. They've destroyed our people. They've destroyed our youth. They're feeding us drugs, and make sure you have plenty of alcohol on every corner, and make sure the one thing that they know how to do, the governmental system today knows how to do, is make sure the people have plenty of alcohol. Put a drugstore and an alcohol, put a drugstore and alcohol on every corner. So there's always plenty of beer and plenty of whiskey and wine to drink. That keeps the people pacified. And give them plenty of ball games. Make sure you got plenty of different ball games. Why? Because people, when they are turned into animals, animals love to play with a ball. So throw a ball out, watch the dogs play with the ball all afternoon. Watch the cats play with the ball all afternoon. Watch animals play with a ball. That's why they give Americans a ball game. Everything is a ball. And the entire superstructure of America is nothing more than the ancient Roman Empire, where you give the people plenty of alcohol, sex, and entertainment, and give them a ball game and let them go out and drink and watch the ball game. And that way they'll stay out of your way while you're raping them, while you're destroying their culture and their governmental systems and their banking and their money, and militarily taking them over and destroying them. At least the people will be happy because they've got a ball. They got a ball game they can watch. And they've got plenty of alcohol, which keeps them on drugs and alcohol. So that's where we are today. America is nothing more than a drug-infested, alcoholic, losing operation, which is nothing more than a company and a corporation. And one day the company is going to go defunct big time. And when it does, the people of this country are going to wake up and find out the politicians are not your friends. It's a corporation. They are merely policy makers. And I don't like their policy. I know all about their policy. I know who they are. And the same people who giving you your government are the ones who given you your courts. They've given you your educational institutions. They've given you your military. They've given you your law enforcement. The same people who are destroying your country are the ones that are destroying your brain, your mind, your future, and the children and your children's future.
Right.
You need to wake up and find out how this scam is being worked on you.
Yeah. I know 20 years ago I told people to stop watching TV.
Yep.
Because it's just insanity. And
there's nothing there. The man who was the head of the Federal Communications Commission, the head communications man in America, he said when he retired that television today, this was many years ago when he retired, he said television today is a complete fraud. It's a dead zone. There's nothing of any intrinsic value on television anywhere, period. Zero, nothing. You'd be ashamed to even watch television. There's nothing on TV that will educate you and tell you who is raping your country, who's destroying your life, who is destroying your whole culture. Nobody is telling you anything. It's a big club and you ain't in it.
Yeah. No, when they went from the, analog, they could do like those secret subliminal messages. But then when they went to digital, there's a lot of people that have done studies out there, and they say that the digital puts out a hypnotic pulse.
Of course.
So when you're watching it, you literally go into a hypnotic cycle, which means that your subconscious starts to run your life because all this stuff is downloaded into your subconscious. And the other thing that totally scares me is when I do catch glimpses of real TV and the commercials. The commercials are symbolic. They're super Illuminati. They're
they're horrible.
They're cultish. I mean, like it totally these days when I see commercials, I'm actually shocked. I'm actually totally shocked that they're so blatant with this kind of information being put out, but they can be because it's going right into, the right hemisphere. And it's going right into that whole subliminal, and they're living their life by it because it's being downloaded into their subconscious mind, which it's pretty impossible to wake up to. And it's interesting, 5 o'clock or, whenever people get off work, they don't care what they have to do to other people to get home so they can get back underneath that digital hypnotic trance.
I know, you're right.
And you're just like, whoa. One of the things that I've been watching is this whole progression of the UN, because now Canada has made an immigration pact with the UN, and also Mexico made an immigration pact with the UN. And you can start to see that they're starting to move, the global agenda, if you want to call it, the main controllers, but they're moving their way to our borders, because we're kind of like, we still have
the last and final place where people can eat.
Exactly.
And the reason why is because Americans worked hard to build their country and to know how. They've been very highly intelligent people. Many years ago, the farmers worked hard. They grew food. They knew how to store food. They know how to freeze food. And so the American men, the American people, were a very powerful people on the world scene. And from all over the world, people who hate America were coming here in droves, wanting to be here. And so they come from South America, Central America, Mexico. They're coming into this country because at least this country's got food to eat, and they've got a job and food to eat. But because this is what Central and South America, Mexico don't have. They don't have any food. They're just starving down there. They have no work. There is no money. And so they're bad-mouthing the United States, but they come up here to eat and fill their bellies. And so that's why it bothers the hell out of me when I hear the people in Central and South America at the border want to overthrow the United States. Well, just keep in mind, if you overthrow the United States, you're not going to eat, because we're the only one feeding the world is America. We feed the entire world. We're sending rice to China. There was a whole article from the United Nations many years ago when I was much younger, an article from the UN that said America is feeding the stocks of the world. The storehouses of the world are being flooded with food from all over the world. Food is being sent to the world by America. We're feeding and storing and putting food in the stocks and the foods of the world. United States is feeding the earth, period. It finances, it sends money, it feeds everybody. So if you want to see this country go down, just wait and see what's going to happen when she goes under. When the United States people are raped and left for dead and thrown into prison, and we have now a gulag, we have nothing more than a prison community where everybody must be in compliance. Watch what's going to happen. Just get ready to try and plant your own food, because America feeds the world. We've been sending out billions and billions of dollars a year to give money to the countries of the world.
Well, and one of the things that, I've been watching is these geoengineered storms, especially the ones hitting the U.S. And I think that they've been able to control the weather like long before. There are stories that come out of Native American people.
Of course.
And they used certain kinds of stones to actually control and manipulate weather in their local areas, right? They have
doing that for years.
Yeah, Native people had technology going back thousands and thousands of years, right? That's is based on natural law, the nature, how it all works together, the power within it. Now the geoengineering, I think that they've been doing it. I mean, how do we know that they didn't, as extraterrestrials, use geoengineering on us to create the Great Flood?
I think that's precisely what happened, is that without understanding the extraterrestrial connection to the human world that we live in, you're never going to figure out how any of this got started and where it's going to go. But once you understand extraterrestrial implications of life on the earth, now you can see where it's come from, where it is, and then draw a straight line through those two to see where we're going.
Yeah. Well,
we're on our way.
So one of the interesting things is, like, I know that, there's been different kinds of extraterrestrial races that have designed different types of humans or humanoids like we are.
That's right.
And like the Anunnaki is spot on, and that the Anunnaki, they said that they didn't want to be portrayed the way that they really looked. Well, did you see recently that Iraq released a $500 note, and it has the full Anunnaki on it? It has the bull body, 4 legs, and it has the wings, which people think are angels, right? These are like historically what I believe people think were angels. Mm-hmm. And then they have the humanoid body with the head and the arms attached to it. But it's becoming more and more blatant.
Well, does that make me? It makes me feel warm all over just knowing that that's so nice that they would do that. They would show us who our really owners are.
Well, yeah, and people think it's just some kind of like, they don't. I think most people couldn't even wrap their minds around it. And so when I've sent it out to show people, like, this is what the Anunnaki really look like, people are like, oh, that's just, I said, well, why would they put it on their money? I mean, they're supposed to be the center, right, where a lot of this stuff went down.
That's right.
And all this other stuff. So why would they be putting, if they weren't subservient to their race, to the Anunnakis, why would they put something like that on their money?
Of course.
It is their money.
And you know how many countries in the world on their stamps around the world, different countries, go on the web and go to image where you'll only see pictures and then type in UFO stamps around the world and see how many countries have got extraterrestrials on their stamps. ETs. Extraterrestrials on stamps, national stamps from around the world, from all the biggest countries in the world, have got a series of stamps, including Israel. Extraterrestrials. Should be telling you something.
Exactly. And, you know, the other thing, too, is I've had a lot of people that have been studiers of the Vedas. You know, the Vedas, we're lucky that we still have them. I mean, only places that the Catholics and the Christians, or actually the Jesuits that were behind a lot of that went into areas and basically burned and destroyed, you know,
everything.
All of the information.
Culture.
Even the Mayans, they destroyed all of the Mayan books that were written that had everything in them, what everything meant, and there's only one left. And so we're dictating what the Mayans said about 2012 off one book that was saved. I mean, here you are having propaganda again because we don't really know what the real story or the truth is about that.
Right.
And who's their god? Their god is a winged serpent.
Yep, you're right.
The being that came to them was a winged serpent that was their king, overlord, and master for a period of time. I mean, this is where they say they got all their knowledge and their information, just like, you know, across the globe.
And the Vatican today, the Pope, we think that the Pope is representing to the world the worship of Jesus. Actually, in point of fact, that's not true at all. The Pope is actually representing a God in the ancient and prehistoric world. And go on the web and check it out. Is the God that the Vatican operates with and is promoting is called Dagon. 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 Dagon is the God of the Catholic Church. Go back and look at it on the encyclopedia. Go to a library. Go on the web and type in Roman Dagon. Dagon Vatican.
So I have a question for you about that, because they wear the hats, right, that represent that god. So were they like, were they pharaohs, or was it a fish deity? Was Dagon a fish deity that had a certain kind of head? I know that the hats represent, and I know that, not Tutankhamun's father had one of the large elongated heads as well, and they tried to erase him from, but I know that a lot of the pharaohs now, so there's something that's really a trip here, Jordan, and I'm going to do a YouTube video on it. We have a casino here called GSR, which is Grand Sierra Resort. And when the bank took over the MGM, it was originally like the MGM, and it's the largest in Reno area. It's the largest casino in the area. It even has a pond, water, on its premise. And when the GSR took over, I was watching Dr. Horus. Have you seen him? HROSS. He was a history professor. He also came from some of these bloodlines, and he wanted to expose them, and they stole his son, and they sacrificed his 12-year-old son to shut him up. But he has what's called the Pharaoh Show, and he travels around the Europe, and he shows where these people have, all of the symbolic language, and he says that the pharaohs, or the octagon, run the world. So he said you can always tell by the sun glyph, the circle sun glyph.
That's right.
So on this casino we have here, once the GSR took it over, they went from the Grand Sierra Resort to GSR. Well, that G, inside that circle glyph, there's a red circle light glyph on the building at the very top. It's huge. It's the largest pyramid in the area. It's how we know that they took over Nevada. They built pyramids in Las Vegas as casinos. They took over the GSR here in Reno. It's like the last big stand of, the what do you want to call them? But anyway, so it has the red sun glyph, red Templar, has 33 diamonds on it, which are, the Freemasons and the Templars. It's all in red. The lights are in red. Has a pond, and has a little golf course out there where you shoot balls into the pond, and a lot of these little floating islands out there that actually have palm trees and stuff like that, which goes back to the pharaohs. And on the exit where you come off, they've built a flat pyramid in stone, which basically says we're here. This is where
I
we're
know,
at.
that's true. And remember that today, even today, around the world and all synagogues, when you go into any synagogue in any country and anywhere on the earth, you will always see a round sunburst, a round sun with the sun rays. And inside the sun, on the altar in a synagogue, you will always see 4 Hebrew letters which represent the name of the Hebrew God. And it's called the Tetragrammaton. 4 letters. Tetragrammaton represents the word for God in Hebrew, because we're told that the name of God is so holy, you should never use it. You should not use the name of the Lord in vain. You should not even use it at all. So the name of God you cannot use if you're a Hebrew. But if you're Jewish, you can use the Tetragrammaton to identify the Almighty God. It's called Tetragrammaton. 4 Hebrew letters inside of a sunburst. And it's called Tetra, which means 4. Gramma, which means a letter like A, B, C, and D. Tetragrammaton, A-T-O-N. Look it up in the dictionary. The Aton was the sun god of Egypt.
Right.
That's why the Jewish name of a god is inside the sun. It's the Tetragrammaton, the 4 letters of the sun god Aton. And the Atom was called the Amen Ra. Amun Re, Amen Ra. That's why when Christians send their prayers, they always end it by saying Amen. And the reason why is because the Amen is the name of the sun god for the Gentile people. For the Jews, it's Aton, A-T-O-N, Tetragrammaton. And so all the powers of this world, the banking powers, the international Illuminati, religious powers, the people who found the religious institutions of our world, the international banking cartels that finance the kings of this world, all goes back to Pharaoh.
Yeah. Yeah, the octagon.
That's right.
And then you have the pentagon that's underneath it, which is the that protects the octagon. And then you have, they all use those geometrical patterns. Yep. So it all comes down to, magic. And don't you think it's like the sound, like when people say, I tell people all the time, don't say amen, because you're worshiping something you don't even know what it is. You're activating a type of magic and frequency.
No doubt about it. That's exactly right. And people have no idea. They don't know. The people of America have no comprehension of the world that they live in. They do not know where anything has come from and what the words mean and what they're talking about when they use terms. They have no idea of the world, what those words mean and why they're using them. And that's what I try and do, just wake people up to understand.
Yeah, no, and you do such a great job. It's just, I think people are just so asleep and everything is just so embedded in them that I think that, we have like 3 minutes, but I want to put this out there because I've thought a lot about this. I came after JFK's murder.
Yep.
And I think that there was extreme hope for people coming out of the stock market crash, and a lot of people knew that they were enslaved, and the Great Depression, a lot of things that were going on. And I think that JFK and Martin Luther King and a lot of these other people were taking a stronghold and people were starting to listen to, I think that it actually rose people up and gave them hope that maybe, things were going to change. And then when they were murdered, it's like people went into a Stockholm syndrome where they went into the system and now protect the system because they gave up. Like there was like this group, of consciousness in the United States that totally gave up hope and just said, screw it, we'll be subservient and we'll make a lot of money and we'll play the game.
And we'll have plenty of cold beer and a lot of entertainment on TV. We'll have sex and drugs and rock and roll, and that's it.
Yeah.
Forget America, forget the freedom, forget liberty and justice, all of it. We'll just go to court and pay your fine and pay your dues and pay the government and give them what they want. Give them their money, give them your son, your daughter. Give the government what it wants, and it will leave you alone, and it will take everything you own, and it will make sure that you have plenty to eat and plenty of entertainment, and you have plenty of hot dogs and to watch basketball and football and baseball and tennis ball, kicker ball, soccer ball, golf ball, ping pong ball, billiard ball, pool ball. You can go on for hours. All the different games in the Western Hemisphere that are depending on a ball.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, you're one of my living heroes, and we're coming into the last minute of the show, and I just really appreciate you coming on and having a conversation with me about the world and what's going on. And I just want to say thank you. And
well, what I'd like to say before you go, is that anyone who wishes to connect themselves to my work and to understand who I am and what I'm doing, go on my website. But here is an important message about my website. There are other websites out there with my name on it. People want to use my name to make themselves money. And so they realize that I'm making some kind of an impact on human society, and people are calling me, and people are coming to me and want to learn. And so they use my name to sell products, and so they're making money off of me. I only have one website, and it's Jordan Maxwell Show, SHOW. Those 3 words only, Jordan Maxwell Show. You go on the web to Jordan Maxwell Show, and you will see a little banner that says Jordan Maxwell Research Society. That's a second email. That's a second website that I have.
All right, Jordan. We'll connect your information. Thank you so much.
Okay,
and have
dear.
a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Welcome to Revolution Radio, where you, the listeners, are in charge. Here at Revolution Radio, we present 48 broadcast hours of news and information each and every day. Revolution Radio never sleeps. Revolution Radio is worldwide and borderless information. Revolution Radio is also commercial-free. Revolution Radio is supported 100% by you, the listeners. And that's why we appeal to you to donate and support this station and its expenses. You can support us in many available options like archive subscriptions, our seed pack selections, or even my woodworking store. And we also even have Revolution Radio's swag at the Revolution Radio Zazzle store, which you can get t-shirts, coffee cups, even a baby onesie. Or you can just plain donate to the cause. We cannot continue without your support, and your support is what helps pay the bills. So please, if you wish us to continue, please stop by our station support page and drop a dime on us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps. Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank or all